his promoter, Andy Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, when I interviewed him, I said, was Hrgovic not an option? Was Joe Joyce not an option? And when I brought your name up, he said that Andy Joshua fancied that fight. What were you thinking when you saw that?
Yeah. Firstly, Joe Joyce obviously is with another promotional company, and they can say, yeah, we would have made the fight, but ultimately, AJ fancied the Joe Joyce fight. I mean, he'll probably tell you that today. He really feels comfortable about the Joe Joyce fight. I think Joe Joyce is a very good heavyweight. I think it's a great fight.
Do you think if you made an offer to them, say we'll have Joe on the zone with Joshua, no involvement with BT, do you think they would have taken it?
Probably not in the fashion and the speed that it would have taken. Maybe, but...
Well, you know, it's a bit late to be mentioning that when it... well, he's got another fight now. Like, is there any plans for the future for that fight, or was it just talk?
Were you surprised to hear that? Were you surprised that happened to you?
Well, he reckons he'll knock me out in one round, so who knows? Like, who knows with Joshua at this point? I haven't actually seen him in person, face to face, since GB, so I don't know how he is as a person. If his head's gone or not, or what's happening. Like, he's, I don't know.
Since that sparring session that got released.
Huh? Yeah, mate. It's probably one of his team anyway. I'm not going to revisit old stuff, but like, yeah, it's a good fight. I'd like to fight Joshua at some point. I think he's got a good story. Both GB boxers and both medalists. So shared the rings, shared sparring. It's a good fight.
Absolutely.
He's got a big, powerful guy, and I've got a big chin apparently and a work rate. So it'd be good. It'd be good. Styles make fights. I think it'd be interesting. Like, so.
Okay, those are the words of Joe the Juggernaut Joyce. Joe Joyce, like his the way he Joe Joyce, he's funny, dude. He's actually a funny cat because everything, like his whole conversation is so ad-lib. It's almost like he's looking for words to say as he's saying them, if that makes sense, right? Like, he's, and then we heard Eddie Hearn talk, oh, he fancies that fight and this, that, and the other. And then it's like, he's like, well, it's a bit too late to be talking about that now. It's hilarious, but I mean, it is true. Like, you hear people talk about those fights, and see, that's what pisses people off. Because it's easy to talk about a fight that you said that your fighter fancies, but you heard no talks, I mean none, about Joshua taking on Joe Joyce. I didn't hear a peep from Joshua. I didn't hear a peep from Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn, about taking on Joe Joyce. So for Eddie, like, here's the thing. A lot of times people get annoyed with Eddie because Eddie, he promotes. I believe Eddie has a passion for what he does. No doubt. I believe he loves what he does. But I think he loves to talk 100% shite. There you go. Just 100, because like saying that now makes no sense. And, that's just like, oh, he might as well be talking about a Wilder fight. So if you hear Eddie Hearn talking about, we'll fight Wilder, we could have had Wilder now, we just didn't. Bullshit. Stop. Because at this point, you're like, okay, you're fighting someone else. That's what you need to focus on. And I know that Eddie Hearn mentioned Joe Joyce because Joe Joyce's name is buzzing. His name is buzzing right now. And stating that, oh, he probably wouldn't want to fight, or that fight wouldn't have happened anyway. But you got to ask yourself, why wouldn't that fight even talked about being done? Why wasn't any offers to Joe Joyce? See, Anthony Joshua could have really went, if he would have fought Joe Joyce April 1st instead of Jermaine Franklin, do you know what it would have done for his popularity? Let's say he would have went in there and won, but it would have been like a hell of a fight. I mean, some Gotti Ward type stuff. Because Gotti was a better boxer than Mickey Ward. Mickey Ward was just that much determined and experienced himself. And then together, these guys' styles made one hell of a spectacle. And it lasted 3 particular fights. And you know what I mean? And people loved all 3 of them. Let's say it was like that. Those are legacy-making fights. So if he would have chose to fight Joe Joyce instead of Jermaine Franklin, people wouldn't have even cared about the Usyk fight, because people would have said, man, dude, Joshua. Let's say it was like Klitschko Joshua. Right? You know what I mean? And so it's like, all right, well, you know, you went from Usyk twice, now you're fighting Joe Joyce in a drug out fight, and the fight was like, you know, spectacular. And he beat Joe Joyce, then he has to fight Joe Joyce again, you know, for millions of dollars. You know, and probably the second fight would be at Wembley. It probably wouldn't be at O2 at all. It'd be at Wembley, because it would warrant a second fight. No, they're not champions, but who gives a shit? Neither was Ward, neither was Gotti. These guys were just like very good, and it was a time for these guys at that point, if not any time, to come together to make a fight. I think at this point they should fight. But see, Eddie Hearn made it, hey, well, you know, it probably wouldn't have happened because of the zone. It probably wouldn't have happened, but you don't really know what would have happened because you didn't try to make anything happen. Counterpunch. That's just basically all that was. And Joe Joyce was like, well, you're talking about that now, but you weren't saying anything before. You know, and it just, and, you know, like Joe is just like non-threatening, but he was just like, you know, like he's just so nonchalant about things. You know, like I didn't hear anything. Like you don't, why are you talking about that now? And really, it's the best question to ask yourself, like mentally, like that, like, why would you talk about me now when you know you have a fighter for your fighter? But anyway, Joe Joyce does say, well, hey, you know, we don't know where Anthony's at. Is his head still there? I don't know. I haven't talked to him. But, you know, he put that in there just to imply that maybe AJ is not mentally where he needs to be. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Joe Joyce responding to Eddie Hearn's claim that Anthony Joshua wanted to fight. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!